I came across this post in the 2X chromosome subreddit a couple of days ago. She titled it, "Decentering Men is Making It Harder to Relate to Some of My Friends." And I believe that if we get to the point where we have decentered men, I believe that it will be a lot easier for women to walk away from sucky relationships, for women to be triggered by men and their opinions, for women to pour into themselves and other women. If we get to this point where we are focused on recentering ourselves and focusing on women. Let's get into this post because there's a lot of good things to discuss here and in the comment section. She says, "I feel like an a-hole saying this. I'm not trying to claim that I'm better than anyone. I'm not better than my friends. I don't think that. In the last 2-ish to 3-ish years, I've done a lot of work on myself, like recognize I have attachment issues, started therapy, and, have made great effort to decenter men. This has had benefits, of course. I think I've really flourished. It has honestly led to a healthy relationship, and I feel good about myself, like the whole works. But I think particularly with one of my best friends, I'm really just starting to notice how she only wants to talk about guys. Like I'm just so hyper aware of how much a lot of the women in my life talk about men. And like if it's positive experiences, I'm definitely way more excited about that. But still, I know these women they lead very interesting and fulfilling lives. They have great experiences, but the stuff they go through with men is still top priority of the conversation. And I understand overall, I want to be there for my friends and celebrate victories. I want to be there when they are upset. I see all the beautiful, talented, amazing women in my life, and they are focusing way too much on these F-ass men. I'm tired of it. There's so much more to life than them. And I'm not even talking about like romantic shit. But y'all notice this with even with men in your families. There's so much focus on them. I feel like my brother takes up so much of my mom's and sister's mental space. Men are not the focus of our existence, or they should not be. We live in a patriarchy, and it's hard to escape the effects of that. Like, I'm not even trying to say this in some conscious choice, really. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to say this is some conscious choice, really. And also, for anyone reading this who has any terrible relationship with a man in their life, I hope this isn't insensitive. I completely understand when you are being mistreated. It's hard not to think about anything other than what is the source of your pain. I'm talking more broadly about the focus of female friendships and bonds and what they're centered around. I feel like we are so robbed as women collectively. And like, dude, even with me posting this is still somewhat about men. Like me posting this, and dude, I hate it. Okay, number one, we can talk about this, but we should attempt to refocus it and say, let's make female-centric conversations or topics or whatever. Instead of talking about decentering men, we should say, let's recenter or let's center women's experiences and topics and conversations. Because like she said, women are interesting. We're fun. We're creative. We're funny. Being in our spaces it's fun, and we enjoy ourselves. And then as soon as you bring in the mix of, or a dude jumps in, it literally changes the dynamics. And that is not to say that you cannot have a relationship with a man. But what we're saying is the man, hold on, like here's a remote control. This is the man. Your life should not revolve around that man. You, lady, you're the focus. You are the main character in your book. Stop trying to be the co-star. You are the main character. Your life should involve you, and everybody else around you. They are your co-stars. So when you go and you hang out with your friends, talk about what you are into, what new things you have learned. Everything doesn't have to talk about the man in your life, relationship woes, things that your brother is doing, all that. What are you up to? Women are interesting. We're creative. We're funny. All right, let's get into some of these comments. Mademoiselle says the worst is whenever a man does something wrong, the woman is blamed for choosing poorly. It's the same women who tear others down about that who ultimately always wind up having to tear down their own self-worth over it too. As an example, I grew up Christian fundamentalist, and that is like the height of centering men in your life, even if they're imaginary. I heard so many women tear down non religious women and blame anything wrong in their lives on them choosing poorly, which for them, of course, is having sex before marriage, living with a boyfriend, dating someone with a job that can't support over 5 kids you want, etc. At least half of these women are divorced now with no job experience for decades and those 5 kids to support. Their entire worldview is completely rocked because their man couldn't keep a good job or had an affair or whatever. It's almost like I can actually see the gears turning as they wonder how they, so pious and faithful, managed to choose poorly like those other women. It hurts tenfold because they bought into the lie to that the man is their self-worth much harder for much longer. They really do. You cannot make your whole personality about a man and being a wife. I feel weirdly bad for them because I know it must be a harsh realization that their entire worldview was wrong. But also, I'm just begging for them to recognize the internal misogyny and stop blaming women for men's failures. Yes, we have got to stop doing that. When men do something wrong, people try to figure out what the woman did to make him do something wrong. So women have to focus on doing the right things for themselves. And we have to behave in such a way that we have to manage a man as well with our own behaviors. They're never really responsible for their behaviors. It's something that we women are supposed to be managing. Remarkable Cat says, I relate to this so hard. Also, it's hard to just choose better when most of the choices as a hetero woman suck. Even harder when you learn that many shitty men don't show their true colors until they think you're locked down. And then Mademoiselle says 100. The women my age who magically stuck with it and seemed to pick the right man and stay in the Christian lifestyle were the ones who went to private school and so naturally met men with better opportunities to begin with. They made good choices as far as we know, just in terms of the man's income, because they had good choices to begin with. Who knows how it is behind closed doors, but I still wouldn't trade places with them. My best friend growing up was kicked out of her private college, but that's fine because her parents had money to support her. They flew her across the country to another private Christian college, and she met a man there, equally well off. They got married extremely quickly and started having kids and portrayed this perfect life on social media, traveling all the time because grandparents watch the kids. She is a stay-at-home mom, all the best decor and appliances, etc. Her sister, however, was gay and completely disowned. I supported myself through college, and if I had been kicked out, I guess I would have been screwed. Vic Gray says, this so resonates with me. Wish I could upvote it more than once. I grew up Christian as well, found my husband in the church world and separated from him for the second time in 6 years, and just had my epiphany because of Wicked 2 days ago. You are spot on. Edited to add. And we mutually stopped believing in the imaginary man when we got married. Still took me 14 years. I centered him, the husband, as my world instead of myself, as it should be for me and every human. That's the thing. Religion has us centering a man just to begin with, because the gods of patriarchy are men. The gods of Abrahamic religion are men. So once we start deconstructing and deprogramming from religion, we're going to have that epiphany that we can center ourselves as women. Now, Wonky says, just curious, could you explain how Wicked made you have an epiphany? She says, absolutely. It's kind of a long explanation, so I will try to TLDR it. We as a couple, while engaged, I believe, decided to remain child-free at my behest. My husband is the fence sitter, and I am staunchly child-free. One of the reasons my husband gave for separation this time was he thinks he wants to be a dad or a grandpa. So maybe he can still do that. It pissed me right off when he said it, which to his credit, he preempted it with acknowledged. We saw my first New York City Broadway together, which was Wicked on a trip in 2016, and I mostly don't or didn't remember it. Throughout the first 75% of the film, I was crying on and off because the music can transport you, and all the songs were bringing back the memories and thus also the feelings of when we were happy together. So this led me to surrender to despair, and that set me free, which at the time I didn't really realize yet. Then, spoiler alert, when the wizard says, I wanted to be a dad, it hit me like a freight train. I had a change of heart 180. The way I have been explaining it is I was the Grinch before that, and then my heart grew 3 sizes. I realized I wanted for my husband whatever he desired because I genuinely want him to be happy and want what's best. As I said, I'm trying to keep it brief, so there are a lot more nuances to it, but that's the gist. And in closing, that is how I explain when I tell people Wicked was transformative for me. And then Link says, are you going to have kids just to make your partner happy? I know it's all complicated and you have a lot more information, but that's the way it comes off. And I'm concerned you are just putting him before yourself again. And to that, she says, in no timeline would I have kids to keep him. He also asked if I was saying that when I told him I had a change of heart. Absolutely not. Will not, would not. He was saying a month or so ago that he is thinking of volunteering in some capacity. And I told him I think the perfect joining of those two things is big brother, big sister. Since we've been together over 16 years, he said he was also thinking of that. And then Link says, oh, thank goodness. I was super concerned as someone child-free myself. I didn't want you to ever feel pressure to give up your autonomy for something that doesn't benefit you. Sorry, I made you explain yourself. It's just so hard to find like-minded people besides the subreddit, and supporting each other is a huge priority for me. See, what I like about that conversation, this woman had her wants and needs and beliefs, but she still was able to acknowledge that her husband has needs and wants, but still not give in to what he wanted because she was true to her values. That is how you can be in a relationship and still decenter men. Cute Cat Girl says, no, honestly, I genuinely don't want to sound snarky, but as a 26-year-old woman, a lot of women my age and age range, like 23 to 28, just wouldn't know what to talk about with their girlfriends if they aren't talking about a man. And my issue is it often makes me feel weird or like I'm some kind of oddity. Again, not to be pretentious, but I'd love to talk about social trends, movies, films, hell, even pop topics and conspiracy theories. And then the OP says, no, I feel this exactly. I will talk about any and everything, but I'm just being hit in the face that so much of what women bond over still comes down to men. And I'm over it and feel weirdly guilty because it almost makes me feel like akin to a hipster laughing my butt off. And to that, Cute Cat Girl says, yes, so much of it boils down to men, 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 men. Drives me insane. So many women will torpedo entire friendships over a man. I've had it happen to me several times. It is truly hard for me to wrap my mind around it. I'm beginning to realize that no, this is the norm. And it really doesn't have to be a norm. This is the reason why I talk about keeping things in balance. Just because you have a romantic relationship doesn't mean that you have to throw away your friendships and neglect your familial bonds. You really should learn some balance. And that comes when we do start to decenter men. All of this conversation goes precisely together. So women need to keep that in mind. All right, so now mythological riddle. This is important too. Or women get stuck on kids, kids, kids. So many mothers become mom zombies. I was friends with a male coworker, and my husband and I went over to his house a few times. I always got paired with his wife for conversations, and every conversation was immediately turned into something about her kids. Hey, did you read about X in the news? Oh, yes, I read about it when I took the kids to the library. They were so cute, running around the play area. They really love the story time sessions. We're so lucky it's twice a week. The rest of the week, we do story time at the same time at home, so we have a consistent schedule. So this goes back to me saying that women sometimes do really make being a mom and wife their whole personality. And this is terrible because number one, kids grow up and they go off and do their own thing. And women who have made their whole personality about being a mom will find themselves like lost once their kids leave the nest. And they are the ones that become those overbearing moms that just can't let go. And to the women that have made being a wife their whole personality, if that relationship goes sideways or he leaves or he has an affair or something, her life will crumble because she has made her whole personality about being a wife. This is the reason why women need to have their own personality, keep their hobbies, keep their friends, so that they are a whole human regardless of their children and their husband. All right, now Slutty Pidge says that's my sister's biggest complaint. She wants to be friends with her coworkers, but all they talk about is their children. My sister could bring up the meteor shower tomorrow night and wanting to stay awake to watch a few, and they would bring up their child's bedtime. Okay, this definitely resonates with me. I am a mom. My life, a lot of the time, has to do with my kids and their schedules. So I get this. But my children are not my life. My children are my life, my focus right now. But I do have a life outside of being a wife and a mom. I just want women to get to the point where we are whole and human and we can have conversations about things. And like I said, be the main character in our own story. And everybody else in this story is the cast, the other people, the co-stars. But you lady that is listening to this video right now, you are the main character in your own story. Write it from your point of view, not what you are to everybody else. All right, y'all. Join the conversation. Let me know what you think about this one. Hopefully, it gets some wheels turning. And this is going to be crux. We're talking about this early right now because this is what's going to lead to better relationships. Because once you start to see that you're in a sucky relationship, you'll remove yourself, hopefully. All right, join the conversation. Let me know what you think about all of this. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. And then go ahead and follow if you're not yet.